Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be looking at the construction control plan, which is produced alongside the construction phase plan, a bit about change control and how the PD will impact that, product testing, conformity statements and justification for design decisions there, and also touching on the Regulation 38 pack and how everything is tied together by the golden thread of information that Lucy alluded to in her talk there. I think what's important to point out from the start is that the new setup of the draft building safety bill is akin in some areas to CDM 2015 structure in terms of duty holder names. And also they've have, with regards Hackett's statement there about not learning from other industries and other sectors, they have looked at other sectors, I believe, because we've got things like gateways now, which and safety cases are quite prevalent within coma sites, and gateways are quite prevalent within nuclear new build design and construction. So there is wider learning there. It's important to point out that obviously this is all come about post Hackett's raising the bar, which is the Hackett report following the Grenfell disaster, and that the three key roles within the building safety bill to emerge are the principal contractor, the building safety manager, and the principal designer. The enhanced bit there is really a Frankhamism that we've coined because we're combining the skills, knowledge, and experience of our existing CDM consultants with the building safety bill. The value funnel and early principal designer appointment is the same as it always has been under CDM, in terms of early appointment creates the biggest window for design, risk management, input and change, with obviously the smallest cost burden, which is what we're all looking for. So is my presentation going down because it doesn't? My presentation is not moving.
If you just click the button where it looks like a little square with legs.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think I've done it there. For some reason, it wasn't working automatically. Okay, so this slide is around duties and tasks of the principal designer. The same exists as under CDM 2015, in as much as it's about cooperation, communication, collaboration, and coordination with others. The construction control plan, or the fire safety plan, is the start of the golden thread of information, and that's produced within Gateway 2. We also look at compliance and assurance in terms of complying with building regulations with CDM 2015 and the building safety bill itself. And we also start to look at change control by helping draft the change control plan. And then another duty and task would be the building safety information pack, which is akin to the health and safety file under CDM 2015. And within that, we look specifically at Regulation 38 documentation, which I'll come on to shortly, and also the statement of conformity, or conformity statement, that goes to the regulator as well. These are the three gateways that Lucy mentioned before. Gateway 1 is essentially pre-construction or planning, Gateway 2 is the construction phase, and Gateway 3 is completion and handover. So this slide really just represents or identifies our involvement as principal designer at a high level across all three gateways. And you can see that the text there in gold represents the golden thread information to show how and where it fits into the wider piece. So you can see in Gateway 1, we're drafting fire safety plans or construction control plans, the fire statement that which Lucy mentioned, the change control plan, and then we're submitting all these plans to the regulator. Within Gateway 2, we are looking at change control and how we record, track, manage and monitor design changes and how they are agreed. And then in Gateway 3 at handover, we're looking at handing everything over as a pack to the regulator, as well as the conformity statement and declaration to the regulator. And then we're also advising the client with regards to occupancy and arrangements required by their accountable person and the building safety manager. This slide really gives examples of what's included within the Regulation 38 pack contained within the fire safety pack at completion at the end of Gateway 3. It's far more in depth than what is generally included in health and safety files under CDM 2015 when it comes to fire safety. And the important bits to note are the bits in bold, really. So we're looking for information about escape routes, fire separation, fire door sets, detection, call points, control boxes, sounders, signage, lighting, firefighting equipment in terms of extinguishers, smoke control systems, and then any specifications that have been provided for of equipment that's been provided, as well as any provisions around safe evacuation of people with disabilities, which the building safety manager would need to manage. This next slide just demonstrates the relationship between the design and construction process as defined by the REBA plan of works and how the golden thread of information fits into that. I appreciate the detail is small here, but essentially what this slide shows is that within REBA stages 1 to 4, so preparation and briefing, concept design, spatial coordination and technical design, that's really referred to as Gateway 1 within the Building Safety Bill. And within Gateway 1, we're talking about drafting the fire statement, finalising and submitting safety plans to the regulator, establishing change control processes and plans, submitting those documents to the regulator. And then within REBA stage 5, which is Gateway 2 construction, we are looking at recording design changes, agreeing those changes within the change control plan, and just managing the design process in the same way that we do within standalone CDM 2015 projects. And then finally, REBA stage 6 handover, that's Gateway 3. And here we're talking about finalising building safety information, Regulation 38 packs, etc. Jointly signing the conformity declaration and statement with the principal contractor, which states that the final product has been constructed in accordance with building regulations, and submitting that all to the building safety regulator for their review. Next slide is around change control and change control process and the role that the principal designer has within this. Change control is obviously key within any project, so it's a key piece of information for us. It describes how building safety and building regulations compliance will be maintained and achieved during construction, and how changes will be controlled and recorded. It's read alongside the construction control plan, which is the fire safety plan, as well as the construction phase plan. And as with all construction phase plans, this is a live dynamic document that needs to be fed into at various points in time. Before handover, the statement of conformity will be signed and submitted together with a complete construction control plan. And it's essential that the principal designer feeds into design change discussions, and that the impact design changes may have on health and safety in both construction, operation and maintenance are the same as CDM 2015. However, in this instance, the requirement is to formally record and notify the building safety regulator of critical safety changes, which is a significant difference from CDM 2015. A bit more about change control and competency. The ethos of the CDM regulations in all their various iterations from 1994, 2007 and 2015 has always been about the provision of the right information for the right people at the right time. It's always been about the management of significant risks. However, CDM 2015 shifts that focus onto foreseeable risks, and clearly it can be argued that anything is foreseeable. That's another discussion. Was Grenfell foreseeable? Yes. Was this foreseeable risk considered at the time? Possibly. Otherwise, we possibly wouldn't be in the situation we are. That's not really for me to answer, though. It's also important to note that within change control, design risk management is an iterative process that evolves as the design and project progresses over time. The Building Safety Bill brings input around design risk management into sharper focus too. So within that, I mean conformity statements help justify design decisions, and things that will feed into the conformity statement being signed are all your traditional design risk management tools. So design risk registers, design team meeting minutes, CDM risk workshops, design decision logs, design gateway reviews, and other such tools that that CDM consultants utilize. So within that, and to enable all that, what's required is a greater level of competency, because the role is more onerous than the principal designer role under CDM 2015, and therefore it carries with it more liability. It's important to upskill existing CDM consultants as necessary. So we've taken a decision at Frankham to put our CDM consultants and principal designers on the Institute of Fire Engineers Level 5 Fire Engineering Design course. We've also sent them on in the process of sending them on the Fire Protection Association's Safe Design of Buildings course. The Level 5 IFE course I think it's a 4-module year-long course. It's a big investment in terms of finance and time, effort, and energy from the guys that sit the course, but we believe that it's the right way to respond to the building safety bill and the requirements imposed upon the principal designer. The next slide is associated with the conformity statement that is signed at the end of Gateway 3. As I mentioned previously, it's the final piece of the golden thread of information, and the principal contractor and the principal designer both sign the declaration jointly. So there's joint accountability, joint liability in terms of confirming that the product is built in accordance with the building regulations and fully complies. The regulator, the building safety regulator, has it's up to them whether they decide to accept the conformity statement or not. And I think it's really important to point out, Lucy mentioned it earlier, that in terms of enforcement, we're being told that the building safety bill will be reinforced far more stringently than perhaps the CDM regulations have been in certain areas. So I think that's a huge change coming. My final slide is about product testing and principal designer input within product testing. The challenge here for the principal designer is to seek evidence of that testing has occurred and that the products have passed the relevant tests. Ideally, we want to move towards primary testing, I would imagine, where individual components of a final solution are tested together as one. So within that, a great example of that is door sets, obviously, where you've got hinges, letterboxes, handles, and other such components that create one whole solution. And other examples would be windows, external wall systems, obviously, and structural steelwork where intermissing coatings are being applied. Obviously, global assessment and testing still occurs, but in both cases, in all cases of all testing, the results must be conveyed to the principal designer, and then they must be also conveyed to the building safety regulator. And that concludes my presentation. And if there are any questions, I'll happily take those at the end of the session.